AFR Talk. AFR Talk. This is Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth.
Welcome back, Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth, probably on AFR Talk. And we have some good news. We do. The good news is the law in Texas, yeah, it went through. That's right. 20 weeks from 24 weeks. The bad news is Wendy Davis, the one who filibustered, and you had women saying all sorts of things down there in Texas and protesting and acting like, well, just a mob. I see that a lot on the left, out of control mob action, and it's heralded. They'll herald anything. They'll take anything and say, "Oh, this is great." Remember Hillary? What difference does it make? And people are sitting there going, "How could she say that?" And the mainstream media is like, "Oh yeah, she really got him." Just ridiculous. Say it enough times over and over, it'll be true. It's not. And that's the good news, too. Out of the bad news, follow me here, because with all of the noise machine and the distortion, the law was passed, and the issue is starting to resonate in different states and gain ground. People are not a fan of this, and they won't be a fan of abortion the more they know about that. Now, the reason I know about how that works and how technology is actually bringing in the youth to oppose abortion is because we've got an expert. Gentle Ben Johnson, U.S. Bureau Chief of LifeSite News. And gentle as a dove, wise as a serpent. I'll tell you right now, an amazing, amazing host as well. How are you, my friend?
Oh, thank God. Good to be with you again. Thank you.
Great to be with you. Now, tell me this. When you see what's happening with the debate in the issue of abortion, I was always told, and I believe you have been told, being a cultural conservative and a leader, that we're just supposed to be quiet about these social issues like marriage and life. So how is it that we're starting to win the debate on the issue of abortion in relation specifically to the 20-week ban post 20 weeks in Texas?
Well, you're right. The tide has turned on this issue, and it would not have turned if we had listened to the advice of those who thought they were our betters, whether that would be in the elite media or whether that would be in academia or those even sometimes in our own party who would say, or whatever party that might happen to be, they simply say, you can have your own opinion on, I believe John McCain said this, you can have your own opinion on abortion, but that doesn't mean you should really talk about it very much. And the fact of the matter is, if we had listened to that, we would not see the sort of sea change that we have seen in the last couple of years. There has been an historic number of bills passed over the last 2 years at the state level, rolling back abortion all over the United States, in virtually all 50 states. You are seeing a movement to try and protect the lives of the unborn and to protect the health of women who go into these often unregulated abortion clinics. So what has happened is very simple, which is this debate began in 1970s, well, really began before that in the 1960s, with California legalizing abortion and then moving on state by state. But in 1973, the Supreme Court forced the hand of the entire country and forced this debate on the country when most of America was not ready to legalize abortion, did not wish to legalize abortion. The Supreme Court simply invented a constitutional right to privacy that protected abortion. And so we've had this debate, and slowly but surely, science has begun to impact the debate. People in the 1970s, of course, didn't have access to first sonograms and then ultrasounds and now 3D ultrasounds, where today someone who's pregnant can go inside, see a 3D ultrasound of their child, and they see that this is very obviously a baby. This is a child who has arms, legs, fingers, has a beating heart that they can see beating on the screen in front of them. There's no question this is a human being, and regardless of whether that human being is on the inside or on the outside of the mother, that child is loved and should be protected.
So we come to a place where the truth has been the truth from day one, unchanged. It's absolute. Life is life. And technology's picking up on that, starting to show that. And we live in a time where people will vote for defining marriage, as I like to say, between a man and a woman, to recognize there are differences between genders. It's not a bigoted statement. It's just reality. And yet we have the Supreme Court, or the Supreme Court in states, state Supreme Courts, whatever it may be, reversing the people's will. We have life amendments that start to make their way into states and gain ground. They may lose. Remember, this takes a while. But my question is, are we going to see, I'm starting to see something change in the country. And I don't think it's from it's not an echo chamber. This is not something, oh, well, you're taking a certain point of view and you're in a bubble of other people that agree with you. No, what I'm seeing is they've thrown everything they possibly can in the sense of distortion and lies to conservatives, specifically cultural Christian conservatives. Go right down the line. They've done it. They are riding high on the marriage thing. They think they've won it. It's over. But they haven't won the hearts and minds. And they're not going to be able to because the truth is not on their side. The same thing with life. And I also see this happening in economics, too, as well as in a general sense, national security. Tell me something. Has Barack Obama, the policies of Barack Obama and the left in general over the last 4 or 5 years, as well as you can go back the last 20 years, has it yielded finally a threshold where people are taking a look at it saying, wait a second, you all have been lying to us? Ben?
Well, I think people are seeing the consequences of these decisions. I think that's really what's happening, whether it's economic or national security or the issues of life and marriage and family. They're beginning to see the consequences of the policies that have been enacted. Barack Obama said, we famously said, and Joe Biden said, we have to spend money in order to get out of debt. We have to go into debt in order to keep the economy going, to spend money in order to get out of a deficit. Well, we've seen where that lands us further in debt. And so we have seen, throughout the discussion on abortion, we were told it was simply a child was simply an undifferentiated lump of cells. Now we're finding out that this was different, and in fact, the other side knew this all along. Of course, we were lied into abortion on demand in the first place. Roe versus Wade was supposedly about a woman who was raped, and of course, that woman later came forward and said it was not a rape; it was all made up. But it was simply more sympathetic in order to get the case through that way. So America is really experiencing a sea change, and it's not simply an echo chamber. That's something that we really have to strive to keep ourselves abreast of what's really going on in the rest of the world. It's so negative, but we have to keep our finger on the pulse to see where we are so that we don't just repeat what other people are saying. There is such a change in this country. There was an ABC Washington Post poll that came out this week that by a margin of 2-1, people want the defining issue of when abortion restriction can begin moved back in favor of the bill, the Texas law, 20 weeks. 56% favor a bill like the one that Texas has just passed over Wendy Davis's 11-hour filibuster over the mob violence, and like the one that passed the House of Representatives at a national level, 20 weeks. However, the Supreme Court in Roe first said you cannot restrict abortion before 28 weeks because that's the point of viability. They said that a woman has a constitutional right to privacy that entails a right to an abortion, and the only thing that can change that is viability. Well, if you make up a right, I guess you get to make up the exceptions, right? So that was what they said. Well, what they're finding is that most Americans don't. Number one, viability has changed from 28 weeks in Casey in 1992. They rolled it back to about 24 weeks, but now viability, thank God, is moving further and further. They're able to save younger and younger babies. So that's going to have to be revised. But on the other side of the argument, people are beginning to get scared. There was a piece in ABC News, and I'll have a piece on lifesitenews.com either tonight or on Monday about this. An American University political science professor named Karen O'Connor said, and this is a quote, "I think we're going to see Roe overturned." She's in favor of abortion rights like most political science professors around the country. And they quoted not only her, but a history professor at the University of Georgia, who said that right now there are 4 members of the court who think that Roe versus Wade was wrongly decided. The 5th one may be en route. Very simply, there are a lot of Americans now who say maybe viability isn't the only reason we should restrict abortion. Maybe there should be some other criteria. And if you believe in a living, breathing Constitution, as so many on the court do, you can change this right, and you can change the reasons you can make exceptions. So at a minimum, you're going to see, according to these on the other side in the pro-abortion rights movement, they say you're going to see this changed at least back to 20 weeks all over the country. And ultimately, we hope that that will lead to the day when all children from the moment of conception until natural death are respected, welcomed into life, and respected and protected by the law.
Ben, you are the U.S. Bureau Chief of LifeSite News, arguably the most recognized pro-life publication, okay? And my question is, we've had a lot of discussion over the last 4 years and most recently in the last 6 months regarding abortion. How many times have you been offered to be a guest on CNN, NBC, MSNBC, CNN, CNN again, there you go. But if you go right down the line, all the networks, as an alternative point of view, or at least a balanced point of view, where you are arguing or making the case for life. Ben, you must, I mean, seriously, mailbox totally full because they would want to get an expert. You're an expert. You're covering it. U.S. Bureau Chief, come on. What's up?
They're on call waiting now, I'm sure. The matter, I mean, not only myself, but I mean, there are so many wonderful experts. I mean, occasionally maybe Charmaine Yost from AUL is on a program as a counterpoint, but inevitably it's a program where you have 3 or 4 other viewpoints and the host, all of whom favor abortion rights, versus someone who gets to talk 1/4 of the time and is under attack from all sides. But it's just
bottom line, Ben, bottom line. They're not doing their job. And that's why they still can't win the debate, because people like you get the truth out. We're blessed to have you. And Ben, I could talk to you all night, bro. We have to go, but thank you for what you do.
Thanks
Take
so
care.
much. God bless.
All right. Live with honor in your life, compassion in your heart. We're out of time. We always need more time. AFR Talk. Live with honor in your life, compassion in your heart, and always keep the faith in Jesus Christ. Know that God knows you, God loves you, He created you, and you're worth it. We'll see you Monday. Go to the Facebook page you want to chime in. AFR Talk.